You probably don't think of yourself as someone who's naturally good with money. You haven't retired early. You don't have a complicated investment portfolio. You're not posting net worth updates online or bragging about your savings rate at dinner parties. By the standards of what financial success is supposed to look like, especially on the internet, you feel pretty average. But here's what I learned after 17 years inside investment banking. The people who are genuinely, quietly, sustainably good with money almost never look the way we expect them to. We picture financial success as flashy. Someone in an expensive car, checking their brokerage app, confidently dropping investment terms into every conversation. But behavioral economics research tells a very different story. The people with the strongest long-term financial outcomes often display subtle psychological patterns that don't look like financial success at first glance. Patterns that most of the people who have them don't even recognize as unusual. So today I want to walk you through 15 signs that you might actually be better with money than you give yourself credit for. Some of these will feel obvious. Some will feel contradictory. And a few might make you a little uncomfortable, because they reveal hidden costs you didn't know you were paying. If you recognize yourself in more than half of these, you are almost certainly doing better than most people, even if it doesn't feel that way right now. The first sign is counterintuitive: you barely think about money. Not because you're careless, but because you've automated your financial life to the point where money becomes invisible. Your savings transfer automatically on the first of the month. Your bills pay themselves. Your investments happen without requiring a single decision from you. Research from Cornell University found that people who automate their financial systems accumulate significantly more wealth over time and experience far less financial stress than those who manually manage everything. Every financial decision you make depletes your mental energy slightly, and people who are genuinely good with money understand this intuitively. They remove the decision entirely. If money management feels almost effortless because you've built it to require no ongoing effort, that's not luck. That's a skill most people never develop. The second sign surprises a lot of people: debt feels physically uncomfortable to you. Many people with strong money management skills describe debt not as a financial concept, but as a physical sensation. Heavy. Suffocating. Hard to sleep through. Neuroscientists at Stanford found that for certain people, owing money activates the same neural regions associated with physical pain and real threat detection. Their brains learned early that owing something meant real danger, and that wiring never left. If carrying a credit card balance genuinely bothers you, not just intellectually, but in your gut, your brain is wired in a way that naturally and almost automatically protects your financial future. The third sign shows up in how your brain processes numbers. You think in percentages, not dollars. Instead of thinking $60 saved, your brain automatically translates that to 3% of my monthly income set aside. Instead of $180 shoes, your brain calculates 6 hours of my time. Research published in the Journal of Consumer Psychology found that people who naturally frame spending in terms of labor hours or income percentages make significantly more rational financial decisions. That mental friction, the automatic "is this worth 2 days of my life?" interrupts impulsive spending without requiring any willpower at all. For some people, this isn't a learned technique. It's just how their brain processes the world, and they can't turn it off even when they want to. The fourth sign is about what gives you pleasure. Watching your savings grow actually feels genuinely good. Most people get a dopamine hit from spending: the anticipation, the purchase, the new thing. That's completely normal brain chemistry. But people with exceptional money management often get that same dopamine response from watching their account balances increase. A 2018 University of Pennsylvania study used brain imaging to show that some individuals experience genuine reward center activation when they see their savings grow, even by small amounts. If watching your net worth tick upward feels genuinely pleasurable, not just intellectually satisfying but actually exciting, your brain chemistry is giving you an enormous advantage that most people simply don't have. The fifth sign seems completely backward at first: you overthink small purchases but make large financial decisions relatively quickly. You'll spend 25 minutes comparing 2 brands of olive oil. But you'll confidently move $8,000 into an index fund without much hesitation. This sounds irrational, but it makes complete sense when you understand how the brain processes patterns versus anomalies. Small purchases are repeating patterns, decisions that happen hundreds of times per year and compound dramatically over time. MIT research found that people who carefully optimize recurring small expenses build significantly more wealth than those who only focus on large ones. The big financial decisions, by contrast, have usually already been made through prior research and planning. When the moment comes, it's just execution, not deliberation. The sixth sign is one that creates real social friction. Lifestyle inflation genuinely makes you uncomfortable. Most people experience lifestyle creep. As income rises, spending rises to match. New salary, new car, bigger apartment, nicer restaurants. But people with strong money habits describe a genuine psychological resistance to this pattern. Their internal spending baseline is anchored, and raising it feels wrong. Not morally wrong, just uncomfortable, like wearing shoes that don't fit. Friends wonder why you still drive the same car. Family questions why you haven't upgraded your home. But your internal comfort zone simply hasn't shifted just because your bank account has. Research from the National Bureau of Economic Research found that individuals who maintain significant gaps between income and spending, regardless of how much they earn, accumulate wealth at rates far exceeding their peers. The seventh sign is about how vividly you see your future. Your future self feels like a real person to you, not an abstract concept. When you imagine yourself at 65, that person doesn't feel distant or hypothetical. That person feels vivid and present and someone you genuinely care about. Stanford's Virtual Human Interaction Lab found that when people emotionally connect with their future selves, saving behavior changes dramatically. But some people have this connection naturally, without any technology or exercise to prompt it. When they're about to make a purchase, they're genuinely asking, would 65-year-old me be glad I did this, or glad I invested this instead? And they actually care what the answer is. The eighth sign is one of the most powerful. You feel buyer's remorse before you buy. Most people feel regret after a purchase, getting home and thinking, did I really need that? But people with strong money management often feel the regret in advance. Their brain runs the full simulation. Buy this, get home, feel foolish. And they feel that foolishness now, before the money ever leaves the account. A 2017 Princeton study found that individuals with this ability to accurately forecast their own emotional response make far fewer impulsive purchases and report significantly higher long-term financial satisfaction. It's not discipline or willpower. It's accurate emotional prediction happening automatically before every transaction. The ninth sign is about awareness. You know your numbers without having to check. If someone asked you right now what your checking account balance is, your total debt, your approximate net worth, you'd be pretty close without opening a single app. Not because you obsessively monitor everything, but because you've developed a quiet, ambient financial awareness. The same way you roughly know how much gas is in your car or how much food is in your fridge, you know where you stand financially at any given moment. That background awareness prevents the dangerous drift where people suddenly discover they've been overspending for 3 straight months without ever realizing it. The 10th sign is easy to miss. You don't feel the need to announce your financial wins. When you pay off a debt, hit a savings milestone, or max out a retirement account, you might not tell a single person. This isn't secrecy or false modesty. It's about where your validation actually comes from. People who are genuinely good with money derive satisfaction from the progress itself, not from other people recognizing the progress. The number in the account is the reward. External recognition feels unnecessary, almost beside the point. If your financial progress feels complete and satisfying without anyone knowing about it, you're operating from a psychologically stable foundation that most people spend their whole lives chasing. The 11th sign sounds dark but is actually deeply protective. You mentally rehearse financial disasters, and that's a genuine advantage. You've already walked through the worst-case scenarios in your mind. Job loss. Medical emergency. Market crash. You've already grieved the hypothetical income loss. Already planned the response. Already figured out how you'd survive and rebuild. Psychologists call this defensive pessimism, and research from Wellesley College shows that people who use this strategy actually perform better in uncertain situations because they've already processed the anxiety in advance. Yes, it creates background worry even when things are going well. But it also means you build robust emergency funds, diversify income streams, and never overleverage, because you can vividly imagine, in real emotional detail, exactly what happens if you don't. The 12th sign is one that sets genuinely good money managers apart. Boring financial milestones actually excite you. Paying off a loan. Hitting a round savings number. Maxing out your 401k contribution for the year. These events create real emotional responses for you, not just quiet intellectual satisfaction, but actual genuine excitement. Most people's brains don't generate much of a reward signal when a debt balance hits zero or a savings account crosses a threshold. But if you felt a real rush when your net worth crossed into positive territory, or genuine happiness when you finally built 6 months of emergency savings, your reward system is perfectly aligned with behaviors that build lasting wealth. In 2026, when the IRS 401k contribution limit is $23,500, some people will feel absolutely nothing when they hit that number. You might feel like you just won something significant. That feeling is an advantage most people simply never get to experience. The 13th sign is one that can look like a strange quirk. You research purchases for far longer than the purchase takes to use. A $25 item might get 2 full hours of research, reading reviews, comparing options, calculating cost per use, tracking whether it goes on sale. The time invested clearly exceeds any rational financial return on that research. But this behavior isn't actually about the $25. Your brain is building quality and value recognition models that apply to hundreds of future decisions. The research on this small purchase is quietly training your intuition for the next one, and the one after that. People who are genuinely good with money often describe this process as something they cannot turn off even when they know intellectually that the marginal benefit of more research is minimal. The process itself feels necessary to them. The 14th sign shows up in how saying no actually feels. When you decline something, you feel relief rather than deprivation. Turning down an expensive dinner invitation. Skipping the hotel upgrade. Passing on the limited time offer that everyone around you is jumping at. For most people, saying no to these things feels like sacrifice, like missing out on something they genuinely wanted. But people with strong money habits describe saying no as genuinely relieving. The pressure of the decision lifts. The money stays where it belongs. The future stays protected. This isn't about not wanting nice things. It's about the emotional weight of spending feeling heavier than the pleasure of having. When no consistently feels better than yes, your emotional relationship with money is working powerfully in your favor. The 15th sign is the most honest one, and it reveals a real hidden cost of all of this. You feel guilty spending on yourself even when you can absolutely afford it. Even when you've hit every savings goal. Even when the purchase is completely reasonable. Even when you've genuinely earned it. A 2020 study published in the Journal of Economic Psychology found that individuals with high savings rates often experience more guilt around discretionary spending than those who save far less, even when their financial situations are objectively secure and comfortable. Your brain has been so thoroughly trained to protect the future that spending on the present feels like a betrayal, like breaking a quiet promise to your future self. That's not a character flaw. But it is a real cost, and it's worth acknowledging honestly. Here's what ties all 15 of these signs together, and this is the part most financial channels never talk about. None of these are purely advantages. Some look like anxiety. Some look like chronic overthinking. Some look like a real difficulty enjoying the present moment. And honestly, sometimes they are exactly that. The psychology of money is genuinely complicated. These aren't people who have mastered some clever technique or read the right book. These are people whose brains process risk, reward, time, and security differently, and that difference shapes their entire financial lives, usually without them ever fully realizing it. Research from the University of California shows that the strongest predictor of long-term financial success isn't intelligence or initial wealth or even financial knowledge. This is simultaneously liberating and a little uncomfortable. Liberating because it means if you struggle with money, you're not broken or lazy or undisciplined. Your brain simply weights time differently. Uncomfortable because it suggests financial success might be less about conscious choice and personal virtue than we all like to believe. But here's where it gets genuinely hopeful. The baseline tendency might be neurological, but the behaviors can absolutely be learned and automated. Even if your brain naturally discounts the future heavily, you can build systems that work around that wiring. Automatic transfers. Artificial friction on spending. Gamified savings goals. These create the same outcomes without requiring the same natural psychological setup. And let's be honest about something else that doesn't get said enough. These psychological patterns come with real costs that deserve acknowledgement. The constant forward thinking creates genuine anxiety. The guilt around spending prevents enjoying the fruits of real hard work. The mental rehearsal of catastrophe makes it difficult to feel secure even when you objectively are. So if you recognized yourself in most of these 15 signs, you're probably going to be financially secure. But please, actually enjoy some of it. Your future self will be genuinely grateful for the preparation you're doing right now. Just don't sacrifice your present self entirely to a person who doesn't exist yet. And if these patterns feel completely foreign to you, if money management genuinely feels like pushing water uphill every single month, that's valuable information too. You can build systems that make the right choices automatic so you don't have to rely on wiring that isn't naturally there. Or you can acknowledge that your values and priorities lie elsewhere, and that is a completely legitimate choice. But what ties everything together, what sits underneath all 15 of these signs, is self-awareness. Understanding your own psychology around money is itself one of the most valuable financial skills you will ever develop. It's not just about knowing how compound interest works or what a Roth IRA is. It's about understanding why you make the decisions you make. What triggers your spending? What makes saving feel rewarding or punishing? How your brain values the future versus the present moment. Most people never examine any of this. They just react to money situations over and over again without ever understanding the machinery underneath. And that lack of self-awareness costs them, sometimes thousands of dollars a year, and sometimes their entire financial trajectory. Working with your own reality instead of constantly fighting it, understanding yourself clearly and building around what you find, that might be the single most powerful financial move you ever make.